Hi, Marla.
Hey, you're a co-host, so um you can do whatever you need to do.
All
Okay.
righty.
It's
Thank you
time.
so much.
How are you doing today?
Oh my God, it's been a day. It's been one of those days. When we are done today, I am going to bed.
I, and I are on the same schedule. I'm feeling
Okay.
wore down today in a way. I think I said no, I'm going to bed because I feel like something is trying to come on, and it's because I'm tired. You know what I mean? So I'm like, nope,
Yeah.
nope, nope, nope. I'm going to bed, rest, drink my tea, get myself doctored up.
Yes.
I'm not gonna let it happen.
I hope you had a great day thus far, although it sounds like it's been long as well.
It was a long one, but such is life. Ooh, okay.
It's me for one.
Yep. Welcome, welcome, everyone. Welcome, welcome. We're going to get started in a few minutes. So we continue to let people in. Miss Settles, I have not seen you in a while. I'm so glad to see you in the room. So we're going to continue to let people come in and we'll get started soon. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good to see everyone. We'll get started in a few minutes. We generally start at 6:35 to give people a few minutes to get in. So welcome. Welcome, 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 everyone. Good to see you. We're going to get started in 2 minutes. We generally start at 6:35. Just want to give people some additional time to get in, but thank you for coming out tonight. Okay. Okay, we're going to get started in one more minute. One more minute. Good evening, Ms. Carson Carr. Okay, thank you, Ms. Carson Carr. Yes, we're ready. Fight the good fight. Thank you. Okay, it is 6:35. We're going to get started. Welcome to the Ward 7 Education Council General Body Meeting, February 2026. Please be reminded that all Ward 7 Education Council meetings can be viewed on our Zoom channel. Also, we send it out to our distribution list after our meetings when we have our meeting recap. And so I say this all the time. I want to make it broadly accessible, but I don't want, because we have the Zoom channel and or the distribution list for people not to attend in person. So even though our click rate is great on our distribution list, and our distribution list is quite large at this point, I still want people to show up. So thank you. I really appreciate when each of you show up. With that, we want to get started because we do have a very robust agenda tonight. It is Black History Month, and so we want to acknowledge that it is Black History Month. And we only have a few more days, but we want to make sure that everyone is celebrating it, learning something new about the history of African American people in this country. With that being said, I want to also go through our agenda. We will first hear from me. I'll give an overview of our goals and what is important here at the important to the Ward 7 Education Council. Then we'll hear from our Chancellor from DCPS Schools, Dr. Ferebee. Then we will hear from candidate Brian Schwalb, not Attorney General Brian Schwalb, candidate. He's coming in his candidate posture today, as well as we will hear from candidate Kevin Chavous, who is a candidate for at-large council member on the Democratic seat. Well, we always hear from our state board rep, Eboni-Rose Thompson, with updates. We'll have some announcements, and we'll try and adjourn on time. That is always the goal. So with that, I'm going to keep it moving. I'm Marla Dean. I'm Dr. Marla Dean, Chair of Ward 7 Ed Council. I'm so excited because this is my last year as the chair. And so Christina Jones, the vice chair, will be picking up from here in June. So it has been a great run. I think I've been chair, I don't know. I don't want to say. But it has been a great run and it has been a privilege to try and educate and support the issues, the education issues and education adjacent issues in the Great Ward 7. Okay, so with that, I want you to know our mission. Our mission is really to be focused on organizing, collaborating, and advocating to ensure high quality community-based public education as a matter of right for Ward 7 early childhood, pre-K to 12, and adult learners. And with that, we have core values of equity, access, health and safety, joy, and responsiveness. And then our goals are really have always been the same, even well, not have always been the same because we actually had a strategic planning session, I think in 2020. All Ward 7 learners deserve high quality education, and that does not um, there should be no difference based on their, which part of the district they reside in and or their citizenship. And Ward 7 schools are the preferred education destination for Ward 7 families. That's a real goal we have and will always have. And we want to establish and protect a dedicated pre-K 12 feeder pattern in Ward 7 schools. So we really want stable, predictable, funding so that we can have a continuity in our programs and services in Ward 7 schools. With that, I'm going to, I don't think at this point, I'm going to spotlight the Chancellor. I don't think at this point we need to do introductions, Chancellor. You've been with us for a while now, but I am going to spotlight you. Chancellor, I have never seen you show up in a hoodie.
Well, thank you, Dr. Dean. So it's good to hear all of your core values. It's just a reminder of a lot of the work we've been able to accomplish in DCPS. I have a presentation for you this evening. I believe somebody in our team is going to load that up, and I'm going to kind of walk through that content. So while we wait for the slides to come up,
Yeah, Harley,
But
he has, and I
okay,
mean, he has access, so he can take over. Okay. While you're talking, go ahead.
okay, yeah, perfect. So today was our celebration of the expansion of DC Tag. As many of you may know, DC Tag has a 25-year history in DC, and through the leadership of Congresswoman Eleanor Norris Horton and Mayor Bowser and many who worked on this, we celebrated the expansion of now up to $75,000 students can get with DC Tag and $15,000 a year. So represented our colleges and universities today, and I'm proud alum of North Carolina Central University. So that's the reason for the hoodie. But
Okay.
it's good to be with you all. And again, I think the opening is a good reminder of all the great work happening in Ward 7 as it relates to DCPS and also just the Ward Council and your leadership. Before we dive into the discussion today, we're celebrating Black History. And it reminds me of more than 100 years ago, Mrs. Nanny Helen Burroughs, which is one of the schools, as you know, now in Ward 7, was founded as the National Training School for Women and Girls. And I think it's just a reminder of how far we've come on the great educational experiences that happened in Ward 7. And as many of you may know, it was a vocational training campus specifically for girls and young women. And I think that legacy continues to be a theme throughout Ward 7. I want to share some of our recent accomplishments. So many of you may know each year we have our standing ovation, and it's an opportunity for us to spotlight all the great things that are happening in DCPS, and it's where we honor greatness with our administrators, school-based staff, and there are a number of people that have been recognized from Ward 7 since 2010, since we've been doing this. But this year's ceremony, I think you should know, really featured some great accomplishments from Ward 7. One specifically I would spotlight is Kimball's principal, Eric Dabney, who was the assistant principal there, and now is the principal. And because of his leadership, he earned a School Leadership Excellence Award, which I had the honor of presenting to him. And you can see it's shown here in the photo. We also celebrated Miss Bernard from Plummer Elementary School, Miss Clark Deal from Randall Highlands Elementary School, who also received a School Staff Excellence Award. And then we recognized Mr. James from Eastern High School, who also received the Educator Excellence Award. So again, congratulations to all the Ward 7 awardees. And we're really thrilled that we can spotlight that excellence in DCPS and Ward 7. I want to ground our conversation in what grounds our work in everything that we do in DCPS, and that's our strategic plan, also known as our capital commitment. We're in our iteration now from 2023 to 2028. And some of you were very influential in helping us develop these strategic priorities, but I think it's always good to do a refresher of what's important to us. And the first priority of the three is ensuring that students are succeeding academically. That's English language arts and math, but we're really focused in recent years on mathematics because we've been able to recover quicker and faster in English language arts and math. And so we're really proud that we're coming off historic gains in both English language arts and math, but our highest year-over-year record improvement in math since we've been taking a state assessment in Park and DC Cape. So feel good about where we are with math instruction, and we're continuing to also ask families to help us at home because math is everywhere. The second strategic priority is ensuring that students feel connected to school. We know that when students have a great sense of connection to their school, whether it be their peers, the staff, they're at their best. And so one of the areas we're discussing tonight in terms of feeling connection is dual language. We continue to do work around how we ensure that there is a streamless trajectory in DCPS, which I know you mentioned earlier is one of your priorities. And then the third strategic priority is ensuring that students are prepared for what's next. That includes from pre-K to kindergarten, elementary to middle school to high school, and ultimately when students graduate and get ready for post-secondary success. You're here tonight that come through with career readiness opportunities, our career and technical education programs, and also students earning college credit while they're in high school. So again, three strategic priorities: students succeeding academically, connected to their school, and prepare for what's next. I also want to highlight when we think about strategic priorities, what investments we're making in our schools. And so for budget, many of you may know now that we've completed the first phase of our allocation to schools as a part of the 27 budget development process. Now we're just in the beginning of the overall cities process. And in fact, I just left one of the mayor's budget forums, but once school budgets are submitted, which they were earlier this week. They'll go to the mayor, and the mayor budget will ultimately then go to the council, and then will be hopefully finished by the process late spring. But I wanted you to I wanted to give you some context on where we are with the budgets that went to the local school advisory teams. You can see all of the budgets for schools break down here in Ward 7. We continue to prioritize educators, and we fund schools first, ensuring that teachers have the appropriate educators for their schools. But there are three factors that often drive enrollment shifts year over year, or budget shifts, I should say, year over year. And one of them is enrollment. The other is the types of supports that are needed for that school community. And then finally, we look at stability year over year because we do want schools to have stable budgets. And we ask schools to align their allocation to the priorities of their school community and student needs, first starting with our teachers, and then other academic supports, mental health supports, as well as these are all things that school communities have said that are important to us. It's important to note as we go again, looking at all of Ward 7, DCPS uses the Uniform Per Student Funding Formula, also known as the UPSFF. This is used to calculate the amount that every student is funded on a per pupil basis. It's also important to note that there are weighted dollars, so students may get an additional weight of funding that follows them in addition to the base weight. That is all based again on student need. And so we want to ensure that schools that have greater needs in their population are receiving additional money in addition to the base funding as a part of the UPSFF. Again, these dollars are all intended to ensure that schools have the appropriate staff, the programming needs are met, and then also any non-personal need dollars, they have the resources to support their school community. Well, again, we ask schools to collaborate with their local school advisory teams, and principals have autonomy over their budget, but the local school advisory team supports that. And then we have until March 6th for local school advisory teams to sign off on what the principals submitted as a part of their budget. You mentioned stability. You mentioned schools having a strong a sense of service and people feeling confident in that service. And so I think one way we do that is through our teacher retention efforts. And so I want to talk a little bit about that because having strong educators who are talented, ready to serve, and there's continuity in our schools with our educators is important to us. So as a part of our commitment to ensuring students are succeeding academically, we've been strengthening teacher retention. We're proud to have one of the highest retention rate we have in the last 5 years, and that 95% of our effective and highly effective teachers continue to return to DCPS each year, and 83% return to their same school. And we're proud that our retention rate is not only improving across DCPS, but if you look and zero in and spotlight Ward 7, we see now that Ward 7 is now on par with the district average for teacher retention. And we also see in Ward 7 a increase in teacher retention within the school. And so we saw a 3.8% increase of teachers staying in the same school year over year, from the 23-24 school year and over to the 2024-25 school year. And then we're continuing to monitor the data as we complete the 25-26 school year and looking to bring more of those educators back going to next school year as well. On the next slide, we want to just again show you how we're not only just focused on retention, but we look at retention across positions as well. And we look at who's staying in which positions year over year. And so again, here's some snapshots of retention across positions and across all of our school-based positions. DCPS has retained over 80% of our staff. We're proud also that we have strong retention rates for our principals. Over 95% of our principals continue to return, and 93% come back to their same schools. And so we're really proud that we continue to have continuity in our leadership. And then three-quarters of DCPS principals have been in their building for more than 3 years, and many of them have been there longer than that. And so we're really proud that many of our school leaders have been in the same position, which we know that retention allows them to build capacity, and more of our teachers are also being retained as well. And then that increase is represented in Ward 7 as well. As we think about the supports that schools are provided, we also want to ensure that you know that we're continuing to ensure that the working conditions for our educators also remain strong. So that we're proud that DC is a destination that teachers look to work, and it's a place that they look to stay. Thanks to Mayor Bowser's leadership, we continue to make investments in our educator compensation. We lead the nation in one of the strongest compensation packages for educators, and also teachers can earn more for their performance, which is a very unique characteristic for DC. And then we're also focused on ensuring that the professional learning experiences for our educators remain strong, because we know the types of development experiences they have often influences whether or not they stay in DC, and we can attract the best. We also continue to solicit feedback through our teacher and principal advisories. They are critical to understanding what the experience is, and they also represent DCPS well. They also have been testifying to the DC Council recently, just sharing what their experiences are so we can learn from those experiences and continue to improve the working conditions for our educators. In addition to that, as I mentioned earlier, we're recognizing the greatness in DCPS. So in addition to our standing ovation, we really do it big in DC for Teacher Appreciation Week. So mark it on your calendar. It's in May. It's the week of May 4th through the 8th. And again, I know schools are already thinking about how to celebrate their educators. But again, I just want you to know that our central services team continues to go above and beyond to support our school-based staff. We have our Upbeat Retention Program, which is empowering staff to ensure that we're in lockstep with the way that they want to be served and supported. And then we continue to see strong progress from the pilot at Minor Elementary, Plummer, and then also River Terrace. In addition to teacher retention and the supports we provide, I also want you to know that we're focused on attendance. It's another area where we've had some challenges from recovering from the pandemic. And then also, I want you to hear where we are with enrollment. Enrollment was mentioned earlier that you want families to see Ward 7 as a place that they can have great confidence in their neighborhood schools. So I want you to know that we have 4 schools in Ward 7 that have been enrolling over their projections, which is a strong sign of family confidence. And that's Kimball Elementary, C.W. Harris Elementary School, Eastern High School, and then also River Terrace. And then we see steady enrollment in several schools in the ward as well that are right around 90-95% of their projection. That's Plumber Elementary School, Randall Highlands, Knoll, Smothers, Thomas Whitlock, Minor, Houston, Elliott High, and H.D. Woodson. So lots of good news in terms of families choosing their neighborhood school. We also see that Eastern High School is off to a strong start with over 500 applicants thus far in the DCPS My School, I should say the DC My School lottery for next school year. So thank you, families and community, for prioritizing attendance for us and also prioritizing enrollment. And we can't think of a better way to get people excited about our schools than word of mouth. So thank you for being that voice for our school community. Another area that I mentioned earlier that I know families have been interested in Ward 7 is dual language expansion. Given some of the investment in Houston Elementary School, I want you to know that the Office of the Deputy Mayor of Education, also known as DME, will be giving more information around the dual language study and options for Houston Elementary School in terms of their trajectory, and then also dual language east of the river. DME is going to share preliminary findings from the dual language feasibility study during a virtual team meeting, which will occur on Monday, March 2nd from 6 to 7 p.m. And Harley Morgan, who's on the DCPS action team, who's a specialist for Ward 7 and 8, will also follow up with a link in the chat shortly. So you have that information so you can tune into what the DME has to share about those findings. As we round out the presentation, reminder, as I mentioned, this is Black History Month, and this is also Career and Technical Education Month. And we're really proud in DCPS that we continue to see more and more students participate in our career and technical education program. And about 43% of our students have CTE experiences, and we have over 29 pathways in DCPS. But I want to spotlight some Ward 7 schools. So Eastern, Ron Brown, and HD Woodson all have strong CTE pathways. At Eastern, they have a dynamic and rigorous program with EMT courses for the Department of Health. And many of our students who participate in that program are able to graduate with their licensed EMT program and go directly into the workforce. At Ron Brown, we have a flagship CTE pathway around audio and video production that gives students an opportunity to get experience with production, podcasting, audio engineering, digital editing, and the like. And then at HD Woodson, with Spotlight, their career pathway that is connected with internships with the Washington Metropolitan Area Transit Authority. Also, they have opportunities to be a part of transportation and logistics internships within DC. And so we're really proud of the work that they've done. And HD Woodson, you should know, also has a focus on students taking college courses while they're in high school. And Ron Brown also does as well. And in HD Woodson, we have our I Strategy Labs as well. And so really proud of what Principal Massey has been able to accomplish and what students have been doing at HD Woodson. And it's also important to note that they were one of our standing ovation winners last year because of the work that they've been doing with community engagement. And then we get to facilities because we know families want world-class facilities. And I want you to know that work has continued to happen with modernizations in Ward 7. So to give you an update where we are, Thomas modernization will consist of 74,000 square feet of new discovery space, classroom, small group space, and that project is still moving forward, and we're really proud of what's been accomplished. Burville's redesign is up and running with all new playgrounds, updated parking space, improved loading areas, and then Drew Elementary School we'll also get some special spaces for technology, flexible learning environments. So again, really excited about what's underway with modernization. You can see on this slide the completion dates are all around summer 2028. And we look forward to unveiling those new campuses to the community. And we know that there'll be an asset not just for students and families and caregivers of those schools, but we love to open up our facilities back to community usage as well. So I'll stop there. Thank you again, Dr. Dean, for having me this evening. And if there's any urgent questions, I'm happy to respond. But I know you got a tight agenda and you got some candidates that are eager to speak to the group tonight.
Well, we have a few minutes, just a few, for some questions. So thank you. Hurley, I hope we'll get that PowerPoint. We like to send that out. So I'm hoping that that will be shared with us. So
And before we get to questions, shout out that Principal Massey. I see him; he's here. And again, I want to commend him for his strong leadership at HD Woodson. I see him here. I just want to give him some love while he's on.
Thank you, Chancellor.
well, we feel very strongly about Mr. Massey, so thank you very much for that shout out. I'm wondering also if your team can kind of send us, I know you talked about who got standing ovations this year. I wonder, we've had quite a few Teacher of the Years over the last few years. I'm wondering if we can get a little bit of what's been happening in Ward 7 over the last few years and a link that we can share because I think it only increases the community's confidence in our schools if we can get that. So that would be
Yeah,
lovely.
we'll make a note so that you all can be updated on all the people that we're continuing to recognize in Ward 7. And I see Harley, so I think he would have loaded up the link. I just want to check in before we move along because I see people asked about that.
Yep. I'm about to drop it right now.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay, excellent. Um, Okay, thank you. Thank you, Sharona, for getting that to us. We want to publicize that. We want to make sure everyone is clear on that. We're going to go to questions, and I'm going to reserve a couple of questions. We have until 7:10. We're on a tight schedule, so we're going to go to questions right away. And I want to start with one I see in chat. You can raise your hand or you can put them in the chat. But the first one that I saw in the chat was, and I'm trying to find it now. I know I saw it. Okay. It said in your latest data provided by DCPS, it referenced that 43% of educators have served the district for over 8 years, 14% serving for 15 plus years. Tell us about that data, how you're viewing that data, and if you are satisfied with that data.
Well, we always have room for improvement. So not satisfied ever because I think we can always get better at what we do. We believe that, like I said earlier, continuity is important and it helps school communities. We are always thinking about ways in which we lift up our veteran teachers who've been with us for a while and understanding what are the working conditions that best serve them. And when we get that feedback, we try to make adjustments. I think one of the things I would point to recently is we've given teachers more time for professional learning, and they said that's important. We've also incorporated in our calendar some wellness days for teachers, who they also said that they needed that time. But we're not done, and we'll continue to solicit feedback. I think one of the things that we see as a driver for teacher retention long term is principal stability, because we see the greatest transition when we have principal transition. So we're also thinking about not just teachers, but also stability with principals as well.
Okay, thank you. I'm looking for others. Please put it in the chat or raise your hand. Either way. Do you happen to know while we're on teacher retention, I know you said it's been improving over the last few years. Do you happen to know what was the percentages over the last 3 years of teacher retention so we could just see what level of improvement we've been experiencing?
We can.
Okay.
I will while you get some more questions, I'll see if I can pull that up for you.
Okay. Okay, this is a quiet group. I do not understand this. Okay. Come on with questions. Okay. Okay, the question was specifically asked about how we're going to support Kelly Miller because they have not shown the level of improvement that we want to see. So we're just asking for that question.
Yeah, so with Kelly Miller, like many of our middle schools, we've been focused a lot on our sixth grade. I think when students enter in sixth grade, that experience ultimately drives the way students perform long term. And so our sixth grade academy is the way in which we support students in getting a strong start. And that actually starts over the summer, building relationships with students and then building relationships with staff. And we've seen more and more our sixth graders show success. We also monitor their attendance, their performance academically, and we do see improved performance there. Also, it's important to note we have a target for improving the number of students who complete algebra by eighth grade in middle school.
Mhm.
So 85% of because of this work, 85% of our sixth graders right now are on track to complete algebra by middle grades. And that is true also for Kelly Miller. And then we've been also making some facility enhancements because there are some facility needs that they've identified for us that they wanted us to work on. And so if you go to school, you'll see that the cafeteria and a couple spaces on the campus have been enhanced. And the last thing I think with middle school that we hear from students the most is extracurricular activities after school. So part of our budget this year, we're increasing the amount of dollars that we're investing in elementary and middle school activities, so that students can stay engaged. And especially for our middle school students, they want to have, constructive thing to do after school. So that's the way we're supporting middle school, but a lot of that is true for Kelly Miller as well. But again, I would just add some of the facility stuff that we've done recently.
Yeah, I
Going
think
back to
facilities are a big piece of how people view the school and have pride in the school and those types of things. So I'm glad you're connecting those dots. Keep going, please.
Oh yeah, so I'll give you the teacher retention numbers 'cause I know you asked about that. And so I want to make sure you have that information. So teacher retention going back over the last 4 years. So we're now above 90%. Year before 89 in 23, 24, 90% in 22, 23. And then out of the pandemic, when we struggled, it was at 86%.
Oh,
So
okay.
we've
That's great.
seen an increase there. Within the school have been steadily increasing as well. So in 21, 22, it was 78%. Then in 22, 23, it was 80%. And then the following years, 82%. And so that number is still steadily increasing year over year, but it's a number that we track as well. Because we not only want to know who stays in DCPS, but we also want to know who stays in the same school as well.
Okay. And Kelly Miller wanted to let us know about their after school programs. I know Dr. Cost came to us before and really did a full presentation on the supports and after school programs they have there, and also wanted to know that last year they had an extremely strong year for retention. So we're happy to know about that. But the question while we're still on this retention issue is principals are not going to stay forever. So,
Mhm.
what are the kind of strategies you use when principals are selected to move on to another post to retain teachers?
Well, many of our principals, the majority of our principals come from within the district. So we spend a lot of time thinking about how do we, one, create career ladders so that people who are interested in school administration can make a clear pathway for themselves to stay in DCPS and be a school leader. And I think when you have people who come within the ranks, they often do really well with how they perform in DCPS. So we spend a lot of time developing our instructional coaches, our assistant principals, so that we have a deep bench of people who are ready to come in and serve when we do have leadership openings. And then, like I said earlier, most of our vacancies are filled with people that already have DCPS experience.
Okay. And there's much conversation in the chat around some of the data. So I hope everyone will pull that and look and see. Miss Carson Carr always is very much concerned about the struggling reader in high school and really want to know what are the supports and targeted interventions for our struggling readers.
Yeah, so we have a system of multi-tier supports, what we call it, and our most intensive support in these tiers is one-on-one or small group tutoring. And so if we find that students are not reading on grade level and they need the most intensive support, that is the strategy that we've been utilizing. We also refer to that as high impact tutoring. Students also could be um, placed in course that provide them more support with reading if we find that, they're at a high school level and they're not reading on grade level. But the big goal that we have is ensuring that if we minimize the number of students who leave elementary and middle school that are not reading on grade level. And so we want to make sure they get strong foundations.
And Ms. Perry, just so you know, principal salaries are consistent across the district based on, I believe, is it also by
Yeah,
size?
it's consistent by the scale, which is based on their years of experience.
Right,
And then, like you said, the size and the level of the school.
right.
So all of that is consistent across DCPS. It doesn't vary by ward.
Right. I just want to make sure. Ms. We also have a question. You did talk a little bit about math improvement, but they wanted to know, can you talk more about implementing the DC Math Hub and what does it look like in a classroom?
Yeah, so the Math Hub is actually a physical location that we've established to replicate what we've learned from the reading clinic, where students can get one-on-one tutoring or small group tutoring, either from students or adults. We opened the Math Hub at Ballou High School. It's our first one. We're looking to open more across DCPS, across other wards. But currently, students go there after school to be tutored in math. And like I said earlier, they either tutored by a student or they are tutored by an adult. If it's a student, it's typically a high school student.
Okay. And our state board rep has a question, and then I will have a final question. And I'm just making sure I'm not seeing any other questions in the chat.
Yeah, my question, hey, Chancellor Ferebee, Principal Cox,
Hello.
and Principal Maskey. I'm on the move in case you hear outdoor sounds, but one of the things that we consistently hear families and community members say is that we have a middle school problem.
Mhm.
I would love if you would kind of talk about what your vision is for like a good middle school, like how you would define that. Um, and across because I would imagine it shouldn't vary between Ward 7 and Ward 3. So if you had
Yeah,
to say to community members what a good middle school looks like,
yeah, I
what would you
think,
say?
yeah, I think that's an old perception. So prior to me coming in, my first year or two, we would lose students from elementary to middle school. And in fact, that's not the trend anymore, that more students are choosing DCPS for middle school and is a growing population. But to answer your question, I think it goes back to what I said earlier about students feeling connected to school. I think that when you're in middle school and you're in that phase of adolescence, that sense of connection is even heightened need for students. And so we want students to have a strong sense of belonging. We want them to be thriving academically, especially being prepared for advanced math for high school when they leave middle school. And then we want them to have engaging and fun extracurriculars that they can have access to after school and over the summer. And we've been working to build that. And then finally, we want them to have a strong start in sixth grade. And we've been working to build that with our sixth grade academy. But that's the experience we want me to have. And again, I emphasize that sense of belonging because as a former middle school principal, I'll tell you it's really hard because you only have them for 3 years. They're coming in the door in sixth grade. You really only have that seventh grade year where you have a second year with them, but that eighth grade year, they're thinking about high school because they're on their way out. So that sense of belonging is really important in those critical years.
Okay, and so we're about to end our time with you, but I do want to ask, this is a year of potential great change across our city with a lot of elections, and there could be change at your role. So my question is, what do you want to accomplish in this year? What do you really want to focus in on just in case there is change?
Yeah,
And so
yeah,
that's one question. Then I have a second.
yeah. Change is definitely on the horizon. I think for us, I want to continue to see the progress from our strategic priorities. I'm confident we'll see another year with this class of 2026 where we'll have more students graduating on time, prepared for college and career. I think principals like Principal Massey, they've been really focused on that with our leadership. Um, I would love to see improved attendance. Right now, we're on that trajectory, even though we had some really challenging inclement weather this year. But I would love to see that. And I think we're on that path. And of course, improve math and reading results, which we've also been on that path recently. And, whatever happens with the city and the leadership, I feel like we built a strong foundation that all of that progress will continue for years to come.
Okay, well, we would love to have you come back to talk about AI. I do want to ask you one last question because this was in a lot of the chats this week. We learned, I know we're going to find out more about dual language on Monday, but I think we learned on this week that Winston is no longer in the DCPS inventory. Do you know if that's true or not?
That's true. It hasn't been in the DCPS inventory for some time. It's been under the Department of General Services, which is, not atypical. They typically manage the facilities across the district that are government facilities and DCPS facilities. I think, I don't know all the history, but I think it came about as a result of maybe some vandalism in the upkeep of the building that DCPS was no longer responsible for and DGS was responsible for. But it is not
Okay.
in our portfolio.
So what we hope is that GCPS will take a aggressive stance. We saw an article come out recently about one of the major charters and how they're not performing at the level of even DCPS. And so we're hoping when there's opportunities for DCPS to expand its footprint, that they will aggressively seek to do that because that's how you have stability along feeder patterns, and you can have better community schools, which I know is a big initiative because you actually have kids going to school in their community. So just want you to know these are important goals to us around that at the Ward 7 Ed Council. We always will also want our teachers to have a contract in place. So those are the things that we always care about. So I just want you to know our priorities.
I
We
appreciate
talk
that.
to
Our
you,
teachers
okay?
have a contract. It'll be maybe a year or two before we start negotiating again. I see President Fuchs was on the call. Recognize her leadership, Washington Teachers Union. We did open new campuses. We got a new high school we opened in recent years that's going to be honored and named after John Thompson, the coach of Georgetown. We got a new middle school opening in a few years. We opened the early learning space. I think the challenge is space, but we're always looking. I think the other challenge is the number of school-age children is on the decline because of declining birth rates. So
That's
it'll be
true.
something for us to think about. But we're still open for business and innovation.
That's true. But because we're one of the more affordable communities in an unaffordable city, we're getting more and more young families. So,
Love that.
let's keep pushing to
Okay.
get east of the river, specifically Ward 7, to open some of those schools and use some opportunities to, pull back on some of the schools that we lost in earlier years. So that's it.
Duly
Thank
noted.
you. Thank you for
Thank
your
you.
time. I appreciate you coming, and we will talk to you soon.
Thank you again. Shout out to Principal Massey and Dr. Cox. Y'all have a good
Thank
evening.
you. Thank you, Principals. Okay, we're going to move quickly to our next presenter, and that is Brian Schwalb, who is in his capacity as candidate, not in his capacity as the Attorney General, but he's candidate for reelection. We want to bring him forward and just kind of have a very conversation with you. I know you're running. I'm trying to find you. I know I saw you come in.
I'm here. Can you see me?
I'm looking for you. Oh, I see you. Oh, okay. I know you're in the. Oh, you are literally in a car.
I am on the
Okay.
move. I'm on the move.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I got it. I know you were running. So thank you. Thank you for always being willing to come to Ward 7 and to talk to us. So tell us, candidate Schwab, why are you running for Attorney General? Help us
Yeah.
to know why.
Look, I'm happy to be here, and I know that there's a little bit of artificiality in terms of being in an official role and in a campaign role. Technically, I'm in a campaign role tonight, but the fact is that there's more work to do. I feel there's more work to do as your Attorney General. I'm incredibly proud of the team that I've been able to work with over the last 3+ years, and very proud of the work that we've been able to accomplish, whether it's our housing work and taking on slumlords across the city. Maybe saw last week we brought a very significant RICO lawsuit against one of the most notorious slumlords in the city. Case we've been working on for a long time to try to address a pervasive problem in terms of the business model of Raz Julian and his slumlord empire. We also have been, innovating around antitrust laws to deal with housing affordability in the city. I brought a lawsuit against a company called RealPage that was allowing residential landlords to collude with one another around setting of prices, making the rents that are already too high in our city even higher. So whether it's housing, whether it's taking on some of the wage theft that's going on and is rampant in our city, or protecting the environment, I feel good about the work that we've done, but there's an awful lot more work to do. And so I decided that it was important for me and for the residents to know that I wasn't going anywhere. If they'd hire me again to be their lawyer, I'd stay in the role. And I wanted my team to know that I'm not going anywhere. The last 13 months have been a new added workload for the office because there's been an awful lot of work of having to protect the district, protect district dollars, protect district programs from the administration that has been very hostile to obviously our home rule and to our residents. Most of that litigation that I've been involved in has been with other attorneys general around the country. There's been an awful lot of litigation that has gone on across multi-states when the federal government has tried to condition or turn off federal funding or grant money to the district. I think conservatively speaking, probably $700 to $800 million has been saved to date of federal grant money or appropriated money. This is money that Congress appropriated to the District of Columbia to fund programs like SNAP, like early education benefits, like federal highway funds, crime victim support funds, that the Article 2 president sought to turn off or condition, even though these were Article 1 congressional appropriations. So that's been a big part of the work that we've been doing, protecting DC and DC autonomy. Of course, there's sometimes over the last year where there were no other AGs to stand shoulder to shoulder with me, and those were times where my team and I had to protect the district in suits directly against the administration involving the attempt to take over MPD, the deployment of National Guard. And so there is an awful lot of work that still needs to be done. We're in the middle of it. And that's a long answer to a short question, which is, why am I running again?
Okay, so you don't have anyone running against you at this point, do you?
Well, it's unclear. It's unclear.
Okay.
I don't know that that's true.
Okay.
There are people that have picked up petitions. I think both Democrat and Republican. And of course, as everybody probably knows, March 18th is the deadline for people to get signatures to get on the ballot. As a citywide position, the mayor, the chair of the council, the at-large, and the attorney general, I need 2,000 registered Democrats to sign the petition so that I can get back on the ballot.
So with that being said, of the people who've picked up petitions and might be running against you, what distinguishes you from them?
Well, I think that I've now got a track record of the last 3+ years where the residents of the district can see what leadership from an Attorney General Schwalb looks like. They know my commitment to community engagement, to being an accessible Attorney General who listens and then uses what I'm hearing in real time to try to respond to the needs of residents. They know they've got an Attorney General that has built an extraordinary law firm of professionals and lawyers across the 9 operating divisions we have. We're 700 employee agency, and they've seen my ability to lead a 700-person law firm the way it has been done over the last 3+ years. I think the residents know that I'm going to fight for them, and I'm going to stand up and fight, not because I necessarily enjoy a fight, but my oath is pretty clear that I took an oath to defend the laws of the District of Columbia and the Constitution, to protect the public interest. And when anybody violates the law and it hurts the district or hurts district residents, the job of the Attorney General is to act. And that's what I've tried to do faithfully over the last 3+ years. So my hope is that the residents who are paid attention feel like they've gotten an Attorney General who's maybe not perfect, but done a pretty darn good job over the last 3+ years.
And to that point, tell us a little bit about your experience in the issues around education, around children and families. Like, what's your platform? What's your philosophy? What are you trying to do in those areas? Did I lose you? May have lost you.
But we have an awful lot of focus on young people. One of the priorities of my office is public safety and enhancing public safety across the city. I believe my philosophy in all of that has been, we need to raise healthy, hopeful, independent children, because healthy children that are hopeful are safer to themselves and everybody around them. And children who are lacking hope, just like adults who lack hope, are more dangerous to themselves and others. And so that philosophy has infused the way I've approached juvenile justice. We have to hold young people accountable when they commit crimes. We have done that. I have prosecuted violent crime since being Attorney General at historically high rates. 80+% of the violent crime, the carjacking, the gun cases that come to the office are prosecuted. But I've also been laser focused on addressing why it is that kids are showing up in the criminal justice system and trying to address those underlying root cause issues. I've used the law to try to protect kids from social media, brought lawsuits against TikTok and Meta because those 2 companies know that the algorithms that are driving social media are addictive and dangerous, and yet they persist in doing it because it's driving billions of dollars of ad revenue. I've taken on the folks that have been peddling e-cigarettes and vaping and flavored cigarettes, because we know how dangerous those are for children, particularly those merchants that are selling e-cigarettes within a certain vicinity of schools in violation of a settlement agreement we reached with Juul not too long ago, the vaping company. So I've tried to take a comprehensive approach to protecting kids. A lot of the work that doesn't get a lot of attention, but is critically important, is the work that we do in the child welfare space, trying to keep children with their families where they can be reunited and kept with them and supported. But there are times when children are at risk, and we're in the unfortunate position of having to seek to remove kids from the home and seek foster care, foster parents for children to protect them. I've really focused a lot on reforming our child support enforcement work, because we know that even when non-custodial parents are not necessarily still with the custodial parent romantically or in the family, that's a family unit that has a huge impact on children. And financial friction over child support, if there is a lot of friction, can make it harder to be a child growing up. So we've tried to be comprehensive in how we think about all the work we do in the office and how we can drive towards a goal of having more healthy, hopeful, independent kids. And then, as you know, Marla, any opportunity I get to sing the praises of what extraordinary young people in our city are doing, I do. I think it's important as the AG, as the chief prosecutor for juvenile crime, to make sure the narrative is clear. We do have some small number of young people in our city who are causing disproportionate harm. The numbers have gone down. The amount of crimes with guns have gone down. The amount of carjacking has gone down, but we still have some small number of young people who are committing crimes and hurting people. The vast majority of young people in our city are doing extraordinary things. And unfortunately, Fox News doesn't cover that the way it covers when young people are involved in a shooting or a carjacking. But I think young people need to hear adults like us singing their praises when they're doing great things. And so the Right Direction Awards that we give out every year, the Do the Right Thing Challenge, some of the other social media influencer projects that I've put out are all about making sure we change the narrative about young people in the District of Columbia.
So we're almost at time for our 26 minutes with you. That went really fast. What do you want Ward 7 residents to know and understand? And any particular work you're done in Ward 7 that you want people to know about? So close us
Yeah.
out.
Well, the most important thing is I want Ward 7 to know that the AG's office is here. We want to hear from you. We don't always have the jurisdiction or the authority to respond to every problem, but you're always going to get a response. Our consumer mediation hotline took over 9,000 complaints last year. We returned about $1.8 million in dollars to DC residents on small dollar claims. We're seeing a lot of housing and landlord tenant type disputes, but also utility billing and consumer protection and other things that people are having concerns about. I want the community across all 8 wards to reach out to us. We're easy to find. We have a variety of hotlines. You can come to us in lots of different ways. There's no wrong door. I'm proud of the work that we've done in Ward 7. We've leaned in recently to the Minnesota Avenue corridor and working on some of the nuisance property work in combination with community organizations and business owners, try to address some of the blighted properties, and obviously, unfortunately, some of the slumlord enforcement work we have been doing has been in Ward 7. I'm very proud of some of the consumer protection work that really generated from homeowners in Ward 7, who let us know about some of the companies that were preying upon them, sort of sham home renovation companies. And we had a very substantial settlement against a company called Curbio that was preying upon homeowners, many seniors in Ward 7. So I'm a citywide attorney general. We're going to continue to focus on residents across the city, but let's be candid. Our communities east of the river, some of the neighborhoods in Ward 5, other places have been historically underinvested in and neglected. And I think the work of an attorney general in those neighborhoods and those areas is more important than ever.
Okay, well, we are officially at time. I want to thank you for coming to 26 for 26 to hear from you. I appreciate you being always willing to come to figure it out, how to come to Ward 7. And most importantly, I always appreciate I've heard you speak in a lot of different communities and you are consistent in your messaging. So I always appreciate that. Okay, so I'm going to let you get back to driving and have a good day.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you all. Have a good
Okay.
evening.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. And with that, we want to move to our next 26 candidate I saw come in, and that is Kevin Chavous, who is running for at-large council member for Democrat. I'm going to try and find you, Kevin. I know I saw you come in, so I can spotlight you.
Hello, Dr.
I
Marla.
see
Can
you.
you hear me?
Okay, thank you for
You see me?
talking so
Okay,
I can
good.
find you.
Yes.
That'll help. Okay. And I'm going to take off, remove. Okay, excellent. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good. So you want to start off with introduction, introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about you?
Yes, sure. You have to forgive me. I'm up in Ward 1 at the Calorama Citizens Association Forum. So I have found a room to step off into so I could join you. So thank you for having me, Dr. Marla, and good evening to the entire Ward 7 Education Council. My name is Kevin Chavous. I am a proud product of Washington, D.C., and a native son of Ward 7, born and raised in Ward 7 in the Hillcrest neighborhood, actually in Fairfax Village, then Penn Branch, and then Hillcrest. And now I live with my wife and two kids in Penn Branch. So I am a true Ward 7 uh, resident, lifelong member, and I consistently tell people Ward 7 is the greatest ward in the city, and I'm proud to call it home. I'm also a double graduate of Howard University, so I'm graduated with a degree in political science, then went on to Howard Law School, and I am an attorney in DC. Some of you, especially those who have been in the ward for some time, I'm sure you're looking at me and wondering, is he aging backwards or what's going on? But I have a father with the same name, different middle name, but my dad, Kevin Chavous, was council member in Ward 7 in the 90s and part of the 2000s. So I grew up in a household where politics was discussed all the time. My mother, she's also a native of Ward 7, went to Sousa, went to Anacostia, and she's a political science major as well. So I get it honestly. It's definitely in my blood. And I've carried that legacy forward with my work in DC. I'm a former president of DC Young Democrats, a former board member of United Planning Organization, and currently I serve as the national committee man for Democrats in DC. So if you are a registered Democrat, then I represent you at the DNC where I go to the meetings. We vote on resolutions related to the platform of the national party. And I served as a delegate at the convention in Chicago. So after graduating law school, I did some work as a housing organizer, tenant advocate, and most recently, I worked at the council as a committee director, committee and policy director for Councilmember Nita Bonds, where I was her top legislative staffer on her committee that dealt with, it was the Committee on Executive Administration and Labor. So I had that job for about 4 years. And so in that role, I learned firsthand how to take policy from just an idea to an actual law to have real impact. And I'm honored to have Councilmember Bond's endorsement in this race as well. So for me, this public service work that I've been doing consistently for the better part of 2 decades is not seasonal. It's not a new thing for me. It's not convenient. It's not something I just jumped into. It's a lifestyle for me, and it's a commitment that I've lived up to consistently, not just during campaign season, but in the committee rooms, in community meetings, and doing the work of actually governing, which is not easy. And now for me, the race is personal because it's not just about me. It's about my family. It's about my children. And like so many other parents, I have two kids in DC public schools. I want a city that's safe, that's clean, and that's full of opportunity for my kids and their friends, because we know if inequality is touching any part of the city, it impacts us all. We feel that impact, just like the Attorney General was talking about. When youth or adults have different traumas or different shortcomings in their lives, that's what manifests sometimes in the activity we want to prevent, the crime or the discontent. And I recognize that. So my campaign really is centered on one pretty simple but very serious question, which is, what can we do with the power we have today to improve the quality of life for everyone? You know, I know we're dealing with federal overreach. We're dealing with a president who's using DC as a political football. They're deploying ICE, dehumanizing Americans, and we know that we're on the front lines here in DC. But we still have the power to hold our agencies accountable. We still have a $22 billion budget that requires oversight, that requires rigorous checking up on the agencies to make sure that our streets are safe, to make sure that programs are meeting their legislative mandates, to make sure that longtime Washingtonians like people on this call can afford to stay in the city. So for me, it's not about sort of the symbolism or this isn't a vanity campaign. It's about real governance. It's about results. One thing I've been saying since I started is that I don't need on-the-job training. I don't need to learn on the job. I'm ready on day one to serve as council member, and that's because I understand DC. I have a sense of the history, and I do have a vision for the future. And I'm committed to making DC the greatest city in the world, which we certainly can be if we're working together and if we have leadership that is tied to the community, that will listen to the community and fight hard to make sure quality of life improves. So,
Okay. Well, I have
yeah.
a few questions, and you
Okay.
answered
Sorry, I
many
know
of
that
them,
was
but I
kind
want
of hard.
to
Yeah.
be really succinct. Tell
Okay.
us succinctly why you're running for the at-large position.
Because for me, this race is personal. As I mentioned, I want to make sure that the city is a place where my kids can live. I I and my wife, we're fortunate. We met in law school. We've had good jobs, but for others in the city, it's much more difficult. And I want to make sure that the city is responsive to every resident. Too often I hear that people don't know where to go in government. They call government, they don't get a response. And I want to fix that. I love DC as much as anybody, and I want to make sure that the government is responsive to everyone, not just a particular ideology or a particular group, but everyone in DC. And that's what I'm passionate about.
Okay. So there are a number of people running for the position you're running for. So what distinguishes you from the field or the anticipated field? Because we're still seeing who's going to be on the ballot.
Yes, well, it's a good question. And last I heard or checked, there's something like 140 Democrats that have picked up petitions to run for something on the Democratic ballot. So this is an unprecedented race, and it's going to be very hard for anybody to really get their message out to everyone because voters have so many different campaigns that are coming at them. But for me, the big thing that separates me from others is that I actually have experience legislating. I'm the only attorney in the race, and I'm the only one with extensive legislative experience on the council. We're going to be losing our mayor. We're going to be getting a brand new mayor who will be learning what it means to be mayor. We're going to get a brand new delegate. And even though that's federal, it's still a part of our elected leadership. We can't afford to have a council that is full of people who are learning on the job or people who aren't as familiar with the community. And I don't need that on the job training. That really sets me apart because I understand how the legislative process works, how to come in and immediately move bills of importance, and other people in my race simply would take time to get up to speed.
Okay. So tell us, because this is the Ward 7 Education Council, tell us a little bit about your experience with education policy.
Okay. So I I'm a father of two kids in public schools. So when I was on the council, as you all I'm sure know, the education committee is in the committee of the whole. Um, I think education needs its own committee, a standalone committee. I know that's something that people have discussed, and that is something I would advocate for once elected. But for me, with education, I have done some work just a little bit while I was right after college as an organizer of parents. So I've worked in education, but mainly again around organizing. But for me, I really believe that, and I think the Attorney General touched on this a little bit, that we have to make sure that children are ready to learn when they go to school. And I think there are ways the government can ensure that we treat some of the conditions that are afflicting kids. It could be as simple as needing eyeglasses, or um, a learning disability that has yet to be diagnosed. Those are things that I think the government can be more proactive about addressing earlier, so that when the bell rings and kids start, there aren't impediments to their ability to learn. And I think regardless of what school a child is in, that's very important. Kids can't learn if their minds aren't ready to learn. So that's a big thing that I want to push. I think that the government should ensure that every child has had an eye exam, or has had just a basic physical. And there are ways we can do that. But those are the types of things that I want to elevate if elected.
Okay, so we believe that education is definitely connected to other issues, right? Because all the issues that are in society shows up in the schoolhouse. So tell us about your platform around children and families and how you're going to support them.
Mhm. Yes, good question. So one thing I think we have to help the parents who are looking to be more involved in their child's education. And what I mean is, hey, for example, my kids, my wife and I went through the lottery. We have the lottery system in DC, and our kids go to Horace Mann Elementary School, which is all the way across town, frankly. And we like the school. Our kids, enjoy going to school. They're excited about going to school. So we're happy about that. But one of the things with Horace Mann is they have a very strong PTA, extremely strong PTA. And I think we've got to find ways to make sure that families in schools where the PTA may not be as strong, that they have help in learning what it means to have a good PTA, what it looks like. And I think we could do more to support families in that position. We have to help some some parents learn how to communicate with school administrators in a way that's collaborative, where they're working together for the betterment of their child. And in my experience, being a parent at Horace Mann, I think the PTA is very important. It's a very important resource for students and for parents. That's one thing I would push for. And I know, Dr. Marlowe, you have done some of that work. And I'm not saying anything that's some incredible idea that hasn't been discussed, but it is a whole, I think, with some of our schools. And I also think more simply, backing up a little bit, we have to fully fund, our schools. I know the mayor's budget proposed an increase in FY27. I support that. I'm very encouraged with what I've heard about education of DC public schools in general, in terms of reading proficiency, math proficiency going up. Um, the testing is going up. It appears that we're kind of getting back to pre-pandemic levels, which is very encouraging. Enrollment is up, and this is not the time to cut funding. So, as a council member, I will absolutely 100% support the increase in the per pupil funding, because we can't afford to go back when we've started to make progress.
Okay. Well, this is my last year as chair, and the new chair, Christina Jones, her big initiative will be working with PTAs. So if you are in that position, I hope you will work closely with her around strengthening PTAs in Ward 7. I know that's something that she's personally committed to. Tell us in our
Very good.
last few minutes, what do you want Ward 7 residents to know that we haven't learned about you tonight?
Well, I mean, That's a good one because Ward 7 does know me pretty well. I think most people on the call. But I think what I want Ward 7 to know is that regardless of the outcome of this race, I will be here and I will be active. I mean, I think in DC we see a lot of people that come up, they run for office, and sometimes you literally don't see them after the campaign is over. It happens a lot. But for me, this is a city that has raised me, and um, my love for DC is unconditional. So for me, this is just I look at it as the next step in the work that I've been doing. Having worked at the council for the last 4 years, I look at it as a natural progression, and I know I can be helpful in the role and can be effective in the role. Service takes many forms, but I believe I have the demeanor and the love for people to be an effective representative. So and I also want to say, because I'm running for at large, even though I live in Ward 7, I want people to look at me as a second council member. I think a lot of times, or and really you have four because there are four at larges plus your ward member. So that's five. Then if you want to even count the chairman, that's six. But people can come to me if they want a separate another advocate in addition to our ward council member. I would ask that people don't hesitate to reach out to me because I'll always put Ward 7 first. I mean, it's my home, it's where I live, and wouldn't know how to serve in any other way.
Well, thank you, candidate Chavous, for coming to us for 26 for 26. We are at your 26 minutes, but we have a few closeout items. If there's anything else you want to say, please say it now, so it'll be on the record. But we want to thank you for coming.
Thank you. And I want to thank you for your work as chair of the Education Council. I know this is your last year, but you've done an incredible job and you're handing it off to another capable person and very capable in Christina Jones. So I'm happy to work with you all however I can.
Thank you. Thank you, and
Thank
have
you.
a good evening. We're at evening now, so
Okay.
have a
Yes,
good
you
evening.
too.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.
Okay. We are almost there, you guys, but we want to make sure we hear from our state board member who always brings us updates. And it's really important because there's a lot going on. I know I saw
I'm here.
her. I
Yes,
know you. I'm looking for you though.
I'm here and I'm stationary now.
Okay, there you are. Let me spotlight you and let's do that. Okay, and I'm going to unspotlight. Okay, there you are. Go
All
ahead.
right. Good evening, everyone. If there are folks who have not met yet, my name is Eboni-Rose Thompson. I do represent Ward 7 on the State Board of Education. And I hope everyone has had a great February. A few things. We've already, of course, had our meeting for February. We did have a panel on recent graduates, which is one I particularly enjoyed and was timely because we are still working on the high school graduation requirement. So wanted to make sure we heard from young people who most recently fully experienced our system and have been able to tell us what their experiences and pathways have been since then. We had one young man who is doing an electrician apprenticeship. We had a couple others who were in college studying various things, some here in DC, some who chose to go away. And that panel, like all of our meetings, can be seen if you go to our state board website, which is also where you can register to testify. I do always encourage folks, if there is anything education or youth related, you are welcome to testify before us, no matter what is on our agenda. Unlike many other meetings where this is the topic, we only want to hear testimony on this. We do take our marching orders from the public. And so there have been many times where people have come testify before us. We've been able to follow up with folks, and that then becomes part of our agenda. Testimony can happen in person, virtually, or in writing. And you do get 3 minutes, whether it is virtual or in person. And we meet at 441 4th Street Northwest, which is right over the Judiciary Square Metro, the Marion Barry Building, aka the Old Council Chambers, for folks who are not familiar. We are still working like I said, to wrap up the high school graduation requirements. If folks do still have feedback, it is welcome. I expect we will continue to convene the task force, which is a wealth of different perspectives from folks in higher ed and folks in K-12. DCPS, of course, has a representative through business folks and labor folks. We will be convening myself and Representative Henderson of Ward 5 through at least the end of April, probably May, and I expect a vote closer to June. We have heard a lot of feedback around special education pathways in particular, vocational and CTE, as well as what am I missing? Things like I'm going to categorize it as rigor. So changes to things like the math and science requirements in particular, which is a big equity issue. So again, if you would like to email me, since I am the chair of that committee and that work, I will make sure we get a response. If you have a group that you would like us to come talk to specifically, we are also happy to do that. I spent last week at Coolidge talking to teachers and to young people. We'll be making a trip over to River Terrace to learn more about their pathways specifically because those young people are in particular on the certificate track. We'll be at IDEA very soon because IDEA has CTE. And so if there's a group that you convene that has a particular interest in this, we are making special, I'm not calling them side quests because it's not like they're lesser than, but we are making special field trips. I am calling them to gather as much information as possible. Those are really the main things from the board. We did have our performance oversight hearing yesterday, so the record is still open. If folks have feedback around us as an agency, which also includes the Office of the Ombudsman, the Office of the Student Advocate, or if you're just like, hey, Eboni-Rose, as a board member, needs more to do this. Always appreciate it. Those types of things are very helpful as we roll into budget. And speaking of budget, and this is my last thing for today, we get in getting ready for the budget. A few of the things that I am particularly concerned about, I have not yet been able to dig into the school budgets because those things aren't privy to me yet. But I'm glad that we have an increase. I am a bit concerned that the price of everything is going up. I also am a bit concerned, and I think folks should know. I believe we're projected for snow again. You all are Washingtonians, like I'm a Washingtonian. We don't stop getting snow until into March. And we did get a lot of questions as state board members about the opening of DCPS when we had that. I don't know if we're calling it Snowcrete as a storm or when we discovered Snowcrete as a city. For us, as the DC State Board, we do attendance policy. In addition to in both attendance, community service, and some of the other things. Coming out of COVID, we did make changes to our attendance policy. One of those changes was actually to allow virtual learning when there is a snow emergency. And that is true for all of our school districts. I am saying that to you all because we got questions around why DCPS opened and others did not. That was DCPS's choice to open. The mayor controls DCPS, it's her choice. That being said, I understand there were some capacity constraints. I don't know all of the capacity constraints. I suspect some of them had to do with things like technology, because I don't believe we are quite one-to-one. Maybe other things. But as we go into budget season, we both want the policies that we have in place to enable success for and safety for our schools and kids and communities. And we need to make sure that the resources are there to make the policies realities. Because just because you are allowed to do something doesn't mean it's going to work in practice. So I do want folks to know that that is a flexibility that we have. through the attendance requirements. I also want folks to know, and shout out to Commissioner Scott in 7C because he gave young people community service hours to help shovel out seniors. This is just a friendly reminder. We did make a change to the community service requirement that it does not have to be a 501c3 nonprofit to give hours anymore. I'm telling you all that because many of you do a lot of work that is of service to our community, whether it be through ANCs, civic associations. I don't know what, I mean, there are a lot of organizations whose tax status don't necessarily determine their value and their service to our community. So please think about, especially as we're going into the spring, and young people need these hours to graduate, how we can use them to encourage our young people and support our community. I'll be working with actually a couple of civic associations to do some things this spring. Deanwood in particular is looking to do some spring cleaning. We'll be giving away community service hours, but we can also encourage young people to do community, come to this meeting and give community service hours, testify, give community service hours. Please, as we say that your voice is important to us, let's think about how we can encourage and reward that voice because the flexibility is there. And similar to Attorney General Schwalb, I will put a link in the chat. It is February, Black History Month. I always do take nominations of young people who are doing good things in Ward 7. And as we round out the month, we'll be sharing just spotlights of young people in our community who are doing good things. I do believe what Alex Haley said, which is that we should find the good and praise it. So if you know a Ward 7 young person who is doing good things, it could be anything. Maybe they're a little prima ballerina. Maybe they got an award for something really cool. Maybe they started their own business, nonprofit. I'm just giving ideas. Our young people are doing amazing things. Please do take a moment to just fill out a quick Google form so we can nominate and highlight them and share our own good news about young people in our community. So that is my report. I tried to be succinct and informative in my few minutes because I know we had a really robust agenda tonight. So thank you.
Thank you. And so we only have a few more things to get through, and I just announcements. Want to make sure that you are aware of the okay, what's coming up. So next month, we will continue to have 26 for 26 candidate conversations. We'll be announcing who those candidates are. We're also in conversations about bringing forth all the Ward 7 teachers and accolades that people received as standing ovation. We really want to highlight the great work of our school leaders, teachers, and staff. So that's going probably we're looking at that happening also next month. In addition to that, please sign up for committees. We need you to be engaged. We need you to be engaged. There's so much going on, and we need a strong voice. To that point, I want to really tell you about our education candidate forum that is going to take place at Penn Branch Baptist Church on next Thursday at 6 p.m. It will also be simulcast, but we want you to be in the room. It is so important. I want to tell you a little bit about the Coalition for DC Public Schools and Communities. You could see all the organizations that are helping to put this on. We worked very diligently to make sure that it was going to be held in Ward 7 this year. We will have mayoral candidates, delegate candidates, and DC Council candidates. So it's really important that you're there. I'm going to put the link to sign up for that also in the chat so that you can make sure you're in the room. Ward 7 has submitted its budget letter to our council member, and you can see our budget letter there. We also, going back to the conversation with the chancellor, we really want DCPS to take a more aggressive role in reclaiming some of the properties and schools, especially when they're not actually performing any better than our neighborhood schools. So we want you to read about what happened to one of our charter LEAs, and we're hoping that DCPS will see it as an opportunity for expansion and growth. And then we have and have had for a while a vision for Winston School around dual language, and we hope that, and there's a link there for you to also be made aware of what we're not hearing good news about it. I'm telling you, I've had some insights on what's going to be talked about on Monday. That's why you got to show up these forums. You got to show up at the meetings. You got to advocate. We got to advocate together so that those types of things can happen. Because believe me, the voice of the community is very important in making sure that we have equity east of the river. These are all the ways you can get in touch with us. We will be uploading this meeting to our YouTube page. We will be sending out a meeting follow-up recap that will include a video, all the links that were provided tonight. And so with that, I want to see if anyone else has an announcement they want to make before we close out.
Oh, Dr. Dean, I just had one very, very quick announcement.
Go ahead.
Chancellor, I mean, he gave pretty much all of our updates from DCPS, but I just wanted to remind folks that we did have, due to the weather-related closures, we did have some additional school days that people can take note of. March the 12th, it previously was parent-teacher conferences, but now it's going to be an instructional day. And June 18th will now be the official last day of school. So those arrangements was made just, to kind of
Right.
in lieu of the weather related days. And a lot of DCPS schools are hosting open houses. So if you know families that are seeking a school or looking to transition, please have them check out myschooldc.org for all the listings of the open houses for the schools.
Okay. Harley, if you can email me that information, I'll make sure to go out in our email about that date that school is going to be in session, the makeup days, as we used to call them in the old times, and
Yeah.
the last day, and anything else. Kelly
Okay.
Miller wants you to know that their open house is March 12th, and we will be sending out the DME's link to the meeting on Monday. You will get the our meeting recap Saturday morning. We get it out on Saturday mornings, the Saturday after our meeting. So you'll have that link there. With that, I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight, and be safe, be warm, and be informed. Thank you. Wait a minute. I think, Anise, you had something you wanted to say. I'm just saying that. Do you want to say it anyway? We'll capture it.
Yes, actually, I can. Excuse me. Good evening, everyone. My name is Anise Walker. I am the newly appointed, organizing manager for Elected DC's Community Activation Cohort. And I wanted to have an opportunity. One, I see two of my phenomenal principals on the line. So I saw Dr. Cox here. I see Mr. Massey on here. So shout out to them. But I did want to try to offer to all of you, we are looking for member or community members from Ward 7 and 8 to join the community activation cohort. We are looking for people who can make sure to make sure that we can advocate for students and families east of the river. We are doing interviews soon, so I just dropped into the chat the link that we are using. If you are interested in becoming a member, or if you know someone that knows someone that would be good to join our group, we would very much enjoy that. So we would like for you to share that out with your networks.
Okay, we'll make sure that that also is included in the recap. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, everyone, have a good one.